If you've been thinking about selling a home in Raleigh, you may have heard that it is a bad time, but how bad is it? Today we're going to dig into the local market here and let you know our thoughts.
The two things that matter most to sellers typically are how much money am I going to make in the sale process and how long is the process going to take. And those are the two things that we're going to dig into. So right now in Raleigh, sellers are getting about 3% less than what they list their home at, which is not a small number. And the reason, obviously, I mean, 3%, just if you think about it, based on like how much you're selling your home for, is obviously a pretty large number. But the last time we saw a number that high was in 2015, which is crazy. So it's literally been a decade since sellers were getting as low amount on their home as they currently are.
Yeah, and as far as how long things are sitting on the market, in Raleigh itself, on average, according to the MLS, we are sitting at about 29 days on market, which is also the largest amount of days on market we've had since 2017.
Yeah.
And when we're really talking about like those 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. A lot of those, especially like that earlier number, is really kind of like rebounding from the original housing downturn from 2008, because we're still recovering from that until like 2015 or so. So, you know, and then things started like going crazy in our area.
Yeah, most people think of like rock bottom in 08 as being 08, and that's actually not true.
Yeah.
So in our area, it was like 2011, 2013, like that was kind of the rock bottom years, and then from there it started its way up. But yeah, so like you're still on the recovery phase from the housing market crash in 2015 and 2017. And those were the last times that we saw essentially as bad of a seller's market as we're seeing right now.
Right, but things looked a lot different back then too.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of the differences between then and now, the two biggest ones that we're going to see are mortgage rates and home prices. So mortgage rates today are really substantially higher than they were back then. So mortgage rates back then were in the 3s and 4s, which is wild to think about. Like it's almost hard to remember mortgage rates being that low, even though they were low just like 3 years ago, right? Yeah, but it's just tough. It's tough to remember that because we've been in an environment where rates are higher, and they're still higher. So the rates today are in the low 6s. So you're talking, I mean, you're talking a 2%, at least a 2% gap between back in like 2015 to 2017 to today, that's helping drive a much more difficult market for sellers.
Yeah, it's just a lot more unaffordable for the average buyer, not only because of the mortgage rates, but the home prices. Back before COVID, an average price for a home in Raleigh would have been in like the mid 2s to the upper 300s. And now, lower 300s. And now we're in like the upper 5s, lower 6s for an average single family home in the area. So it's more than doubled in
a decade.
A decade,
Less than a decade.
Wild. So you're really seeing not only are the typical homes more expensive, but also the mortgage rates are making that, you know, with the interest rate pulling your monthly payment up higher, it's just more and more unaffordable for someone to buy a home.
Yeah, for sure. And Cindy was going to crack a joke about how this 0-bed, 0-bath home behind us would have sold in Raleigh for $600,000.
Yeah, we can help you buy this one.
Yeah. No kitchen, no bathroom, no bedroom, just a basic house. Yeah. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about inventory as well, because that is something that we talk a lot about, and that if you follow the housing market, those are things you're going to hear a lot about. So inventory has increased substantially over what we saw in the lows of like the COVID market, right? Where inventory just plummeted. Like we've rebounded pretty well from that. But when you're comparing this market, which is a really tough market to sell in, to the last time it was this tough to sell in, inventory is nowhere near what it was back then. It was substantially higher back in the 2015, 2016, 2017 time period. And so that really tells me it's not as much of a challenge for sellers to sell right now because inventory levels are high, as much as home prices are high and mortgage rates are high. So affordability is tough.
Yeah. Home sales are down about 30% from the pre-COVID years, which you may think, how does that really impact me, but it does give you a good picture of the overall health of the market and kind of let you know, just in general, you can see with that data that buyers are just less active right now. And that's kind of showing up in all aspects of the data. And that's really what's driving the slower market, is just less buyers in the market to buy at the moment, mostly because of affordability issues.
Yeah, and it's not just less active, which is 100% true, but I think in general, buyers are slower to pull the trigger on a home.
For sure.
But they're also quicker to pull the trigger to cancel a contract.
Yeah.
And so like if you, and I don't have the number off the top of my head, but if you look at like national like cancellation, so people who are under contract, buyers who are under contract and decide to terminate that contract, it's the highest on record. And we felt that this year on our side. We've seen that happen like triple the times that we've experienced in the past. And so it is a really interesting market with that.
Yeah, for sure. And all this to say, you're probably thinking, why are they sharing all this horrible news when they're real estate agents? Isn't this like a bad idea for them? But we do have sellers that we're working with right now who have not experienced trouble selling their home. We've had some that have had a longer experience, but it's just going into it with realistic expectations. I think what's really tough is a lot of people that are maybe looking to sell right now potentially bought during that COVID era when it was really difficult to buy because of the fact that it was just so competitive. And so, you know, you've got to put your house on the market and not have the same expectations for the buyer of your home that you had to do coming in to buy that same property. You know, you might not get multiple offers. It might not sell the first day it's on the market, but as long as you're working with someone who can break down for you and actually give you a picture of a reasonable amount of time to expect the house to be on market, how many people are probably going to come look through it before you get an offer, you know, things of that nature, it's going to be fine. Like the house is going to sell. It's just not going to sell instantly, most likely.
Yeah, and I would say two things matter today, like a lot. And that's one, the condition of your house, obviously. So in the COVID years, your house could be in horrible condition and it didn't matter, right? Like buyers just didn't care. That's not the case anymore. And two, pricing. I know that's like something that agents always talk about, but pricing really does matter. And you can't just look at the past of like what the comps say necessarily. You have to look at like what's happening in the market today. Like what are we seeing today? Like how are homes moving? And so it's kind of like a looking in the rearview mirror and through the windshield at the same time. And so like putting the price on your home that doesn't just reflect the previous market, but the current market is going to be extremely critical.
For sure.
But we are Zach and Cindy Honeycutt, a couple of real estate agents in the area. So if you are looking to buy or sell in this wonderful real estate market that we just described, you can find our contact info below, and you also find us on Instagram.
Yep, we'd love to have you follow along with us over on Instagram. You can find us at The Honeycutt Realtors. Feel free to send us a DM there anytime, and we'd love to connect with you.
Yep, we'll see you next time.